I'm going to focus on is the fact that America can do for anyone what she has done for me. The importance of restoring hope, creating opportunities, and protecting America is why I look forward to being on the stage and having a conversation with the American people, how you can be optimistic, positive, and yet a strong-willed conservative. That message, I believe, will continue to resonate.
That was presidential candidate Tim Scott just a few minutes ago here on the show, laying out his vision for the country. The senator coming off a contentious appearance on The View, where he pushed back on the idea that the U.S. is systemically racist. Fox News contributor Kellyanne Conway is here. Great to have you. Your thoughts on his performance at The View, and especially on the day when we're going to see yet another candidate, Chris Christie, get in today, Mike Pence, the former vice president, tomorrow, and the governor of North Dakota, apparently on Thursday. Kellyanne?
Doug Burgum, yes. Dana, thanks for having me. Hi, Bill. I think Tim Scott adds so much to the United States Senate, so much to the arc and the story of America, and so much to this presidential contest. He is on track to be a happy warrior, if not the happy warrior. He's doing the opposite of what the people running the super PAC for Governor DeSantis said they're going to do, which is take on those cultural war issues in a way that taps into the, quote, anger of America. I think you have to have candidates who also appeal to the better angels of America. A lot of Americans feel enraged, but they truly want to be engaged, and there's a big difference between those two. And that's really Tim Scott's message. I thought the way he carried himself on The View was perfect. I've been in that seat before, Dana, and I like that he pushed back with facts. And one fact he said to Sunny Hostin, the co-host of The View, was that you're saying that you and I are the exceptions, not the rule. What a terrible way to communicate with America's children, that they can only get ahead if they're a, quote, exception. And then he correctly pointed out the facts. We've had an African-American president, 2 African-American secretaries of state. We now have a vice president who's black. And I think he is on track to make the debate stage. He hovers about 2% in polling, which would qualify him. And then, of course, you need 40,000 unique donors in about 20 states.
Yeah, he told us today that
he has a super PAC, which is important.
Yeah, he told us today, Kellyanne, that he does indeed already qualify. So he plans to be there.
That's great.
We'll talk about the Democrats, too. We just mentioned that progressive activist Cornel West jumping into this race. Political analyst Amy Walter kind of posed an interesting question about his candidacy. We pull up her tweet here. She put the question out, essentially saying, isn't this candidacy more threatening to Biden in general election, especially with young and voters of color, than RFK Jr. in the primary? What do you think about that?
The answer to that is yes. It's very likely. Amy Walter's onto something, and I'll tell you why. Even if you don't become president, you as a third-party candidate spoiler can decide who is the president. This happened in 1992 when we had Bush 41 as the incumbent, and a guy named Bill Clinton, the Arkansas governor, got elected with 43.5% of the vote. Why? Because Ross Perot got 19% of the popular vote, even though he didn't rack up any electoral votes. So I think it's important also what Amy Walter is pointing out is that if you play to win and you're Cornel West and you are still not satisfied with the trajectory of the Democratic Party being progressive enough for you under a Biden-Harris administration, key word there, then you're going to run to the left of them. Number one. Number two, he's going to make a play for people who feel forgotten, who feel abandoned by this Democratic Party, who feel like nobody's listening to them and including them. It's part of how Trump won in 2016, but I think he could do it from the left. Last point on this, we had an incumbent president in Jimmy Carter in 1980. He won 34 or 36 contests, but Ted Kennedy won 12 of them, including big states like California. And Ted Kennedy did not concede the nomination to Jimmy Carter until August or so at the convention. Carter came out of that very damaged and as an incumbent president lost to Ronald Reagan. So we do have some precedent there that Cornel West can point to as to what he's doing. But I know him. He's a super smart guy. He's very committed to the principles and policies that he thinks more Americans want to hear.
And he had a pretty hip little video there introducing himself to everyone. Yes. So it's getting a little bit of play. Kellyanne Conway, always a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.